Hey, good morning. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind Sports and Entertainment video. I'm the man here, R.L. Woodson of Just Wood. Wow. Hell of a night last night in the NBA. Quick boxing notes. June 28th, that's a Friday night down in Cincinnati. Professional boxing returns to the city. I'm a huge fan of, regional, local fight cards and whatnot. So I'm excited. It's a group called Bull Battles Entertainment is behind it. Looks like the featured, the main event will be I believe he's welterweight. Quayshawn Toller. Pretty athletic guy. I've only really seen him in against lackluster opponents at this point, but he's a really athletic fighter that's looking great against these types of guys. I think he went over to Milwaukee, somewhere in the deep Midwest, maybe a month and a half ago, and won some kind of title. But it's good to see him. He had to take a break for a while as some of the different entities behind boxing down in Cincinnati have kind of reshuffled, and it seems like now this Bull Battles Entertainment group, I got a phone number yesterday I got to follow up on and try to get some information. There's a kid named Austin Manning, I guess, that's coming over from Indianapolis. So like I said, the 28th, I think that's the night before the Charlo card. So I'm excited about that, man. Looking to get back ringside, shoot some pictures, tell some stories. Shout out to Boubacar Silla, a welterweight, also out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He got a win over the weekend, moved to 10-0, I believe. He's kind of graduated from that Cincinnati circuit, spending a lot of time in the camp of Terrence Bud Crawford, along with Jamel Herring, doing a lot of work out in Colorado, and seems like he's really, stepping up to the next level. That Split T Management that does a lot of business, I believe, out of Northeast Ohio might be where they're based. I know a lot of fighters that they represent or manage are up that way. So shout out to that bunch. Charles Conwell, former Olympian, 2016 Olympian, moved to 10-0 this past weekend, picked up the IBF, USBA Super Welterweight title with his 10-round unanimous decision win over Courtney Pennington on that DAZN card, Triple G and Rolls. So shout out to him. I thought it was a pretty good fight. I thought he was in there against a pretty tricky opponent. Sergio Moore mentioned that he was trying to survive and had never been knocked out. And, that's kind of his personality as a fighter, is a survivor. I think we saw a lot of that. Conwell didn't look, and he's a friend of the show, been on the program a couple times, but he looked a little disappointed in the win. I saw some comments on social media where, he's like, I'm still learning my craft. And he's looking to do some stuff to where he won't be under the radar, and I disagree. I don't really think he's under the radar. I think you got to, this DAZN card, Madison Square Garden, that's graduated in December. He fought in Columbus, Ohio. But you've moved out, gotten out to the coast. He's also been in Louisiana at least once with a pro grade card. But I think he's where he needs to be. And you just won a title. That helps with moving to the next stop. You got the victory. You're still undefeated. And things are moving in the right direction. I liked what I heard coming out of the corner. The communication and the instruction from the corner was solid. And, the team is solid. So I expect them to be okay. It's Tyson Fury fight week. Please check down in the playlist. I had Toledo, Ohio's Albert Prince Bell, a super featherweight. Yeah, super featherweight. who's going at it this weekend against Andy Vinces. A lot of boxers post that saying about, throw me to the wolves and I'll come back the pack leader. And that's exactly what's going on right here. But if you listen to the interview with Bell, maybe only figuratively is that the situation. If you check out what he said, but the expectation, or the facts are that Vinces is a 22-0-1 fighter with like 12 knockouts. Bell is 14-0. He had one no contest about that he won that was changed to no contest, and 5 knockouts. A lot of height advantage for Bell, which doesn't always mean a whole lot in boxing. But Bell doesn't have an Eric De Leon on his record. Dialba. He doesn't have these national opponents. I don't think he's been, out west for a fight. He's been out there for some training and whatnot. So it looks like the experience is heavily in Vincez's favor. But we'll see. Let me get to this. But with the Tyson fight week, he's going to be on ESPN Plus on the Plus app is where his fight will fall. So I'll get back into that more later in the week. Let's talk about this game 5 last night. The return of Kevin Durant. Only managed to get in 12 minutes before sustaining a horrific injury. They believe it's a torn right Achilles heel. He had 11 points in that 12 minutes. And it looked like as soon as he went to go dig deep and put the ball on the ground and actually, stop settling for jump shot, I think he hit two or three three-pointers. I know he hit his first two shots, which were three-pointers. But as soon as he went to go play ball and get into it, went to drive, push off on that right foot, and there's the shot out there zoomed in on his calf, and you can see something in there move underneath his skin. What did my man say, JB Smooth? Them ligaments moved around in there, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to continue. Bad moment, bad look for the Toronto fans who didn't know at that particular moment, that he would not be returning, and that he probably has a 270 day, recovery timetable coming at him. That's what he's staring down at this point. But I don't know why we gotta go with all the whose fault it is. What's his name? Myers, their GM, I believe, took credit for it, for that. Like I said, there was some talks out there last week about he didn't look good in the walkthrough or the 3-on-3 before Game 3. We hear today that, Game 5 was what KD and his team always targeted as a comeback. After Game 4, there was articles that the team members were confused as to why he wasn't playing, but that didn't line up with what Windhorse had reported after seeing the attempt for the 3-on-3 activity, where it said it didn't go right, it didn't go well, and then somehow 96 hours later you have a practice, and then 96 hours later you play the game. And to me, but it's apropos though, or at least one of my favorite songs out right now by Robin Thicke, That's What Love Can Do. That's love. That's love for the game. That's love for the challenges of, coming back in the NBA Finals. That's love for the organization, your teammates. Love for everything that you've worked for to get to this point, to come back and contribute the way that he was contributing before it all went south. Like I said, I hate now for the NBA, the media, to have to spin it however they want to run with it, but things just happen, man. I mean, decisions are made. You take all the facts that you have, and he was worried about just further injuring the calf. But I guess the leg is the theory could be that the leg is lower leg is compromised, and what else is down there but the Achilles heel. And with it being, once you get all that, once you get something in the anatomy out of alignment, it compromises, or other muscles or ligaments or whatever, tendons have to compensate or overcompensate, and you run into problems. But again, it just is what it is, man. I mean, it just is what it is. I don't see a need to really second guess it, really. Regardless of what Damon Jones and Charles Barkley this morning, everybody wants to weigh in. Kendrick Perkins, if KD was leaving, it's a good chance. It's a significant possibility that he was never going back to the NBA Finals. You have a situation here where you can just suit up and play in an NBA Final game and go out there and join your team. I mean, the guy is in the back, talking to his teammates. He's encouraging them. He's talking through games and everything with these guys. He's engaged. I mean, he was just doing his job, man. But get ready to wrap this up. The game was up and down, and from that injury up forward, it was a bit of an odd flow to it. I guess the hero becomes DeMarcus Cousins, who was ready. Comes in and gets, I believe, 16 points on like 6 of 8 shooting. Hit one of 3 3-pointers, I believe. Didn't look as bad. It wasn't, fumbling around with the ball. He actually shot some threes in rhythm, which was something that I talked about. But an efficient game. I think he did 16 points in like 20 minutes. But getting to the end, Nick Nurse, who's coached and done a hell of a job, is being criticized for calling his timeout after Kawhi went on a 10-0 run himself, single-handedly. I would think, calling a timeout there in the game, in the heat of the game, isn't a terrible thing. Guy just went 10-0. You come out of the timeout, your team should be defensively responsible enough not to let them go on this three threes. And that's what happens in the play. That's how Reggie Miller has his magical moment at Madison Square Garden. 11 points in 8 seconds or whatever that was. These things happen. You put great players in these desperate situations, and Curry was only like 5 of 14 for the game. But Klay Thompson, he's just crazy. Knocking down shots. And some of those looks that they got right there were just, they had Toronto on their heels, honestly. And they were, that three that Steph hit, sandwiched in between Klay Thompson's, that was probably his best shot in the last 2 games, even though some have went in. But in rhythm and exactly how you want to catch and shoot it, I thought that was like the perfect sequence. It lined up right for him. So we come down, and I was very critical of Paul George a couple years ago, or his last year in Indiana, when last second shot against the Cavaliers, I want to say, in that first round. And up at the top of the key, he gets double teamed, and Paul George gave Paul George gave the ball up. As soon as the double team came, it was only like 3 seconds, he didn't get the ball back. And maybe one thing is that if you have a star player, an elite guy, he can't catch the ball in the middle of the court because the double team can come from both directions, where if you start him out on one or the other side, it really makes the defense compromise because somebody has to come from farther away. But anyway, he gives up the ball here. It goes to Van Vliet. And then it gets over to to Lowry for a shot in the corner. It's a horrible shot, very anticlimactic moment. And what is it, 106, 105 or whatever, and a 103 to 97 lead, disintegrated in a couple of plays. But we get to a game 6 back at the Oracle Arena in Oakland. And it's a chance we get to a game 7. Nobody was really horrible for Toronto. I don't think Lowry shot the ball well from 3. I think he might have been 1 of 6. Danny Green only had, I want to say, 4 points. Maybe that was the guy who didn't show up in some ways. But what's his name? Ibaka was good off the bench. Hey, man, it's the NBA Finals, and these are the champs. They weren't going to go away easily at the end of the day. 8 OTDD. But let me get on out of here, man. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Have a phenomenal day. Go out there and be.